کاترین پرس شکدم، خیلی متشکرم که به من وقت دادین و در این گفتگو شرکت کردین. در ابتدای امر خیلی از ما پرسیدن که واقعا خانم شکدم کی هست؟ کاترین، شما کی هستید؟
Okay, I'm just going to go back to the very beginning. So I'm French. I was born and raised in Paris. You know, my family is of Jewish ancestry. Actually, one of my grandfather on my mother's side fought Nazi Germany. He joined the French resistance against Germany very, very early on in the 1930s. He was made prisoner twice and managed to to free himself. And my grandfather on my father's side was actually in a camp. So I have a complicated history. I was raised very secular, so religion wasn't very much an issue in my house, as in, both my parents felt that they wanted me to be raised in the French tradition of laicity and secularism. So my understanding of religion was very, very superficial, and it's not something that we discussed at home very often. I then moved to the UK to attend university, where I basically met my now ex-husband, who happens to be, Yemeni Muslim, Sunni Muslim. And after we got married, I was asked to convert to Islam, which I did. Not necessarily at the beginning, out of conviction, but more to, to kind of abide by his wishes, because, we had by then we were married, we had a family. So I just felt that, something that he was very, very adamant that he wanted this to happen. So I did. And then I got very curious about, Islam, because, if you're going to be Muslim, you might as well understand what is it about. So I studied on my own. I never had a teacher. And I very, very quickly leaned towards Shia Islam, because I felt for me that it was historically more accurate. I felt that it was more representative of the values that I was reading about in the Quran. And that caused a lot of frictions in my marriage, especially towards the end, as I became a bit more vocal about Shia Islam, as I felt very much living in the Middle East, that there was a lot of sectarianism, a lot of hatred directed at Shia Muslims, and I felt that it was profoundly unfair, as Islam, advocates compassion and tolerance and freedom of religion. So I never understood, this whole narrative, around, Sunni Islam and Shia Islam and the vilification of Shia Islam. So I think that kind of put me in the Shia Muslim camp, and by association in Iran's camp. And I think that's what sparked people interest towards me, as initially my writings were very political. I was quite vocal against Saudi Arabia's human rights violation. I also talked about those policies in Israel that I didn't agree about. And I think that a lot of the things that I said were misunderstood as a vilification of an entire people. My criticism was on the policies, so purely political and nothing to do with religion. And I think that I got lumped with, anti-Zionism and, the whole anti-Saudi narrative. And then Iran basically reached out to me, asking me to participate in TV interviews and do some writings and various other projects with the media in Iran. And I think that because of it, and I was completely cut off by then from any other opinions. I kind of I bought into, Iran's regime's narrative, and that's my fault, as in I didn't attempt to, check the other side and actually try to remain objective. I lost my objectivity and got completely, I basically became a tool of propaganda for Iran.
Excuse me, just I ask introduce yourself. I will ask about another things later. Okay. کاترین، میشه لطفاً بهم بگی که در دانشگاه چی خوندی، چه چیزی رو تحصیل کردی، تحصیلاتت چی هست و الان چند سال شما چند سالتون هست؟ I know it's a bit, maybe it's difficult. Question, lady.
It's absolutely fine. I'm 40 years old, and I studied at the London School of Economics. So I have 2 masters. I have one in finance and the other one in communication. So it's not, I mean, I fell into politics because my background has nothing to do with anything. It was more out of curiosity and a desire to speak on behalf of, you know, not really speak on behalf of, but I always felt that some of the reports coming out of, you know, Western media when it came to the Middle East were very inaccurate for a lack of lived-in experience. And that a lot of the time Westerners spoke of the Middle East from their own perspective, you know, and their experience, as opposed to trying to portray people's experience on the ground and understand, you know, from a historical standpoint, you know, why, you know, the Middle East, you know, was facing the problem that it is facing today and continue to face. And often kind of whitewashing, you know, the fact that colonialism, you know, and the intervention, military intervention of many Western capitals, you know, wreaked havoc in the Middle East. I mean, might it be Yemen or, you know, Syria, Iraq. They were kind of rejecting any form of responsibility, which I felt was, you know, unfair and hypocritical. So I tried to give a vision of the Middle East that was as objective as I could. And it kind of landed me where it landed me.
از کی شما با ایران آشنا شدید؟
Oh, the first time I was actually, I was 15 years old and I read a very interesting book called Not Without My Daughter about this American lady who married an Iranian man just around the time of the Islamic Revolution. And she traveled back in the 80s to Iran and she suffered quite a great deal in that her husband, you know, turned quite abusive and violent towards her, and she had to escape. You know, she had to cross Iran, basically, you know, escape through Turkey to then, you know, seek refuge to the American embassy in Istanbul. And that book really made an impression of me, and I was, you know, even then I got very curious about, you know, the regime in Iran, about the Islamic Revolution. And so I proceeded, you know, I read quite a lot of books about, you know, Ayatollah Khomeini, his visit in Paris, you know, the whole revolution against the Shah, who was the Shah, the White Revolution, you know, since I was about 15 and onwards. Obviously, I got married and then ended up living in Yemen for about 4 years. There was a lot of talk about, you know, Iran's influence in the Middle East. And so I proceeded to read, you know, other books about, you know, the history of Iran, you know, from the very beginning. I mean, going back to Alexander the Great. And I just always find it fascinating because I think there are so many parallels between France and Iran, you know, in the way that, you know, Iran is a really old country with a very rich culture when it comes to art and literature and poetry, and it's something that always fascinated me because I felt that the French and the Iranians were actually really similar in their interest and the way that they see things. And I never really understood how you could go from, you know, living under the Shah to the Islamic Revolution, whereas Iran had a very secular, you know, way of life under the Shah and was, you know, was truly, I would say, a Western nation in that it was very modern. It was moving towards, you know, further modernization. It was quite friendly with many countries around the region, had a very positive impact on regional stability. And then there was this massive backlash. And I could understand the you know, the desire to remain true to your religious tradition and identity. I did understand that. And I fully supported it. And for a long time, I felt that, you know, the Ayatollahs were actually a good thing for Iranians because I believed that that's what Iranians wanted. And I'm always been a defender of political self-determination. So for me, if a country desires a particular form of government, we ought to support it, on the basis of democracy and the right for people to choose how they want to be governed. But then I realized that it wasn't the whole story, which is a shame. But I realized that.
Excuse me, I would be happy to know all of your opinion, but because I planned all of the question I want.
Oh, sure. Of course, my apologies.
Okay, don't worry. کاترین، لطف می‌کنی به اون بگی که چطور با همسر یمنیت آشنا شدی و چی شد که با یک فرد یمنی و مسلمون ازدواج کردی؟
I don't know really. I met him at university. I mean, he wasn't going to the same university as me, but his friends did. So we met. And I was raised, my family was quite traditional when it came to, relationships. And I was always told that if you were interested in someone and you were serious about them, you had to get married. And so, he paid attention to me, and I was very young and very naive, I think. I did not understand. Look, in France, we had a very vibrant Muslim community, but mainly from North Africa, and they tend to be quite secular. So I had no understanding of what that meant to be a traditional practicing Muslim. I had no idea that Sunni and Shia Islam existed. So for me, I just saw a person that I was very fond of, and he asked me to marry him, and I said yes. My family wasn't particularly happy about it. For many reasons, and it was very simple. It wasn't complicated. I think that when you're young, you have no real perspective or understanding of what it means to be married, or pay attention to such thing as religious differences or political differences, because I didn't have any real opinions of my own. I was very, very young. I was just starting, my life. It was my first year at university. And I just fell in love and get married. That was simple for me.
کی از همسرتون جدا شدین؟ چه سالی بود و بعد از اون آیا ازدواج کردین مجدد؟
Oh no! That was my first marriage. I've been married only once. I was married when I was 18 years old, and we were married for about 13 years. Got a divorce.
You didn't marry again?
No.
Okay. So once was enough, yes?
Yeah, I think I'm good. I'm okay now.
Okay, maybe too much. Okay. چی شد که به ایران دعوت شدی و ماجرای دعوتت به ایران رو برامون تعریف کن و چی شد که به ایران اومدی؟ آیا زمانی که به ایران اومده بودی دیگه از همسرت جدا شده بودی، همسر یمنیت، یا در همون زمانی بود که ازدواج کرده بود، یعنی متأهل بودی؟
Okay, so the first time I was invited to Iran was, I think, in 2000, and it was either 2015 or 2016. And at the time, yes, my marriage was pretty much over. And I think the whole Iranian trip kind of did it. He was profoundly anti-Shia. So when I stepped into Iran, that was the end of our marriage. Interestingly enough, he actually thought that I was a spy for Iran, which is ridiculous, but that's what he thought. And it was I was invited to attend the Palestine conference that was organized in Tehran, I believe by the parliament, if I'm not mistaken. And the reason why I went, it's not every day that you get invited to Iran. Iran is a country that is so impossible to get to for many reasons. It felt so out of reach that when the opportunity came, of course I went. I was fascinated by Iran, very, very much curious about Iranian society. I just wanted to see, where history took place. I mean, 1979 changed everything. And again, to have the opportunity to see it for myself, I couldn't pass on this opportunity. And I really wanted to, there's a big difference in reading about a country, learning about a country, and experiencing the country from for yourself by visiting and meeting its people. And I really wanted to do that to get a better sense of what Iran was like for Iranians. I wanted to understand the ideology. I wanted to see for myself. It's very simple. There is no second agenda other than educate myself and make sure that what I believed to be true was true by witnessing, and experiencing Iran for myself.
کاترین، فکر میکنم برای اینکه بخوای با یک فرد مسلمون ازدواج کنی، اونم مسلمون یمنی، باید مسلمون میشدی، درسته؟ آیا رسما مسلمون شده بودی؟
After.
یادت هست که چطور مسلمون شدی؟ یعنی چه کاری کردی برای اینکه مسلمون بشی؟
No, well, the only thing I was asked to do is read Shahada, and that was it. So it wasn't complicated. There was no witnesses. I did this, with my husband at the time. We were walking actually by the seafront in Brighton, and it took 2 minutes, and that was it. I was told I was being Muslim. And at the time, I really didn't understand it very much. I didn't know anything about Islam at all, other than I had to, in order, to have a happy family life and to make my husband happy, and I did it.
آیا همچنان مسلمون هستی؟
Am I Muslim today? Is that the question?
Yes.
No. Well, I'm going to say this. It's not like I changed my mind. I still believe that some of the principles of Islam are universal and true. That will never change. I do not agree with the religious authorities and what they made of Islam, because I do not believe, whether Sunni or Shia, by the way, I do not believe in what they say and how they portray Islam to be and the interpretation that they make of it. I think they sullied a very beautiful message, a universal message, and turn it into something that I found nefarious and violent and hateful.
کاترین، به من میگی که یعنی تو مسلمون شدی و از اسلام خارج شدی، درسته؟
Yes.
چی شد؟ دلیل اصلی چی بود که از اسلام خارج شد؟
Clerics, the religious authorities across the board. I found them despicable.
نترسیدی اون زمان؟ میدونی که در واقع کسی که مسلمون میشه و از اسلام خارج میشه یه حکمی داره در اسلام به نام ارتداد و در واقع بایستی که کشته بشه از دید اسلام. این رو میدونی یا میدونستی قبل از اینکه مسلمون بشی و نمیترسی از این موضوع؟
Yes, I do. I do know about this, and that was one of the reasons why I did it, because I found that if a religion feels the need to blackmail you and threaten your life on the basis of freedom of choice, there's a very profound problem with the religion itself. I don't believe it to be true. If Islam is actually speaking so hatefully about people because they feel that they need to have a journey that is different from other people and not have enough compassion and tolerance to understand that people will do and have to do what they believe to be true and be truly honest with themselves. Why would you want to keep people into your religion if they are not sincere in their belief? Why lying? Why being hypocritical? If you believe that God knows what's in your heart, then he's going to have to accept the freedom of choice that he's given you by virtue of your birth. And I think that clerics do that to hold people hostage to a certain belief system. I do believe to this day that Islam is at its core compassionate and tolerant. And if anyone believes any different, they are not worthy to call themselves clerics or Muslims. You have to be kind to other people and respect their choice, even if you disagree with them, as long as they're not harming anyone. It's only, this is my choice. That has no impact on other people's lives. And I haven't changed as a person. I still believe the same thing that I believe. I just refuse to be associated to a religion who, in my mind, is creating a great deal of harm to other communities on the basis of the sectarianism. I cannot tolerate sectarianism. I cannot tolerate calls for genocide on the basis of ethnicity or religion or anything else. We have to respect one another. For me, this is a value that I'm not willing to, to tamper with. I'm not willing to negotiate.
کاترین، میخوام بپرسم که الان تو چه دینی داری؟ آیا اصلا به دین خاصی بعد از اسلام گرایش پیدا کردی؟ چه دینی داری الان؟ میتونم بپرسم این سوال ازت؟
I'm not a big fan of religion on the basis of what I've explained, is that if a religion, in order to exist, has to reject other people and preach hatred, I refuse. I refuse to abide by those rules. So I'm not following any religion.
شما زمانی که در ایران بودید، میخوام ببینم جمعاً شما چند روز در ایران بودید؟ میدونید چند روز در ایران بودید کل زمانی که در ایران به ایران سفر داشتید؟
I really don't. I think, look, every time that I went there, I was there for about between 4 to 5 days at the time, around, this kind of time frame. And I went there about 5 times or so. I can't remember. We need to go and look at my passport, to know. But yeah, I've been in Iran, quite often, for about 3 years. I used to go at least about twice a year for 3 years, about. And yeah, I they were short visits. I never lived in Iran. So every time it was very short. It was London, Tehran, London, and that was it.
مقامات رسمی جمهوری اسلامی گفتن شما جمعاً 18 روز بودید. آیا 18 روز بوده؟ یعنی کل زمانی که شما در ایران سپری کردید 18 روز بوده. آیا درست تایید می‌کنید؟ Probably. It sounds about right, yeah. Okay.
They would know. They would know more than me because they have the records. I would need to check, and I don't think it's really relevant, but
در 18 روز شما ارتباط‌های زیادی رو پیدا می‌کنید، در رسانه‌ها حضور پیدا می‌کنید در طول مدت زمان متفاوتی. شما آیا من میخوام بدونم که چه کسی شما رو به ایران دعوت کرد در بار نخست و بارهای بعدی؟ آیا از سمت شخص خاصی، رسانه خاصی، سازمان خاصی دعوت شدید برای حضور در ایران در هر باری که تشریف آوردید؟
Every time it was different. The first time was, an official invitation from the government. Everything was, organized. The second time, I need to remember correctly. I went a second time to do the interview with, President Ra'isi. That was for RT. So they arranged for, tickets and everything. And it was Nader Talebzadeh who organized the interview itself with President Ra'isi, as he knew him and offered to assist RT in organizing the logistics of the interview. I went once to visit some friends. I took my children as I wanted them to see Iran as well. So there was no work involved. It was just purely tourism. And then another couple or 3 times, it was to meet with people who were actively trying to fight the MEK. And they've asked me if I could basically meet with them, have an understanding of who the MEK was, the danger that they represented, not just for Iran, but, for people around the world, and to try to expose them, by writing articles in the press, which I did, because I thought it was important to stand up to terrorism, because the MEK is a terrorist organization. And that was it. So every time it was for, different purpose. I was actually asked once to write a book on Iran's political journey. So I went to Iran to have a discussion around that for a book. But that's it. So, I met many different people in Iran, and I wasn't always very clear about who was what and working with whom. because, you know, obviously I don't speak Farsi, and people tell you they work for NGOs, you know, and defending human rights and things like this. And I'm always willing to help. So as long as I felt that, you know, it was a positive thing to do, I accepted. And then obviously in Iran, I was asked to do a little bit of a press tour. So went to Press TV, you know, did various interviews for different media, and, you know, things like this.
دفعات، یعنی آخرین دفعه‌ای که شما به ایران دعوت شدید از سمت چه کسی بودش؟
It was an organization called Foda Sun, and it was, you know, this organization that is fighting the MEK.
رابطتون چه شخصی بود؟ میتونید بهمون بگین که چه کسی کارهای هماهنگی شما رو انجام میداد برای دعوت؟
To be honest with you, I can't remember. I think it was Ali something. I don't remember the full name. It was very straightforward. They wanted to explain to me who the MEK was and why, you know, it was important for Iran to stand against it. You know, they sent me materials, you know, links and things like that. I found out that they were supported by the Saudis and some US officials. You know, they give me a history of the MEK. I visited, you know, the site in Tehran of the bombing, you know, met with former members of the MEK. And, you know, I felt quite strongly that, you know, I wanted to take part in, you know, in their work and actually help them to expose the MEK for what they are, which is basically a cult, not a political party, and certainly not the opposition in Iran. So, you know, it was regular journalistic work. It wasn't, you know, it's not. You often get approached by NGOs, you know, who are trying to get, you know, media coverage. To help them.
مهمترین آدمی که توی این سفر ملاقات کردی از سمت این سازمان کی بود؟ یادت هست؟
No, I mean, I know his name was Ali. That's what I remember. But that was it. I mean, if I was to look through my records, yeah, I probably would find the name. But at the same time, I don't want anyone, you know, to be bothering them, or even make allegations against them for, you know, for what they've done, because they've done nothing wrong other than talk to an analyst from the UK, and they were trying to get helped.
کاترین، یه مقدار عجیب نیستش از سمت یه سازمانی دعوت شدی و به یادت نمیاد که با چه کسایی ملاقات کردی در اون سازمان؟
Okay, so I'm going to be honest with you. It's not like I don't remember. It's that I don't think it's relevant to this conversation to be dropping names of people who would potentially get in trouble. And I'm not interested in being responsible for, you know, people facing allegations or, you know, being in trouble with the authorities. So I'm not here to tell on people. You know, if people want to find out, they can if they want to. But I'm not going to be the one. Those people were very kind to me. And again, I do not want them to get in trouble because they were associated with me and people assuming that they've done something wrong, or they have link with people that they shouldn't be talking to. I don't think it would be fair after the kindness that they've extended to me.
I would like to ask, let's continue honestly this interview, because you know, I didn't know anything about this organization who invite you to Iran. Okay, if you don't want to answer some of the questions, okay, just be relaxed.
It's just not fair for these people, to be honest with you. They were my friends, and I still hold them in high regards, and I do not want them to be stuck in the middle of a media circus because of me. I wouldn't do that to them.
فقط یک سوالی به وجود میاد، چون شما میخواید این اسما مخفی بمونه برای اینکه از این افراد حفاظت بکنید، درسته؟
Yes.
در مقابل کی؟
سپاه، you know, the whole state apparatus, intelligence services, you know, name it, them, all of them. You know, I believe that there are forces at play in Iran, you know, whether coming out of the government or the opposition, essentially Ahmadinejad's camp, you know, willing to do anything and everything to further their agenda. And if that means hurting people along the way, they would. and I'm not willing to play a part in this. Again, I have a lot of respect for everyone that I've met in Iran who extended, their friendship and kindness, and I will not be the one to betray their trust.
چرا فکر میکنی که سپاه یا سرویس‌های امنیتی اطلاع ندارن که تو با چه کسی ملاقات کردی، چه کسی تو رو دعوت کرده؟ میدونی که سرویس‌های اطلاعاتی ایران به هر حال روی مسافرین خارجی اشراف کامل دارن. کسی همراه تو نبود از سرویس‌های امنیتی در مدت زمانی که ایران بودی و چرا فکر میکنی که اونها این اطلاعات رو ندارن و این اطلاعات رو نمیخوای بگی و فکر میکنی که اونها این اطلاعات رو ندارن؟
Possibly. I mean, very possibly. I mean, look, Iran is a big country, and I'm pretty sure that, Iran's intelligence services know exactly what they're doing. So everything that you're saying is true. But so they don't need me to say anything if they know it already. What I'm saying is that my personal standing and, is that I do not want to drop names on the off chance that, I might put people in the eye of a storm and potentially cause them harm. If the government wants to do what it wants to do, it's not up to me. I'm saying that my actions I can control, and I refuse to betray friendships and the trust that they've shown me by dropping their name. I don't think it's relevant. Yes, I'm sure that, the intelligence services are aware, but I do not want to play that game. So I'm not interested in dropping names in the media and potentially putting people and their family in a situation that they didn't ask for. I'm responsible for what I do. I choose what I do. I choose what I say, and I do this knowing the consequence of it. I would not force people to be put in a situation that they haven't chosen. I don't believe that it's the right thing to do. And I have a lot of respect for people in Iran. And again, I would not do that to them. But that's my personal, choice. And I don't have to drop names if I don't want to. I mean, if people want to find out, they can. I would not help them.
پس در واقع داری از این افراد در مقابل افکار عمومی دفاع میکنی و هویت اینها رو داری در مقابل افکار عمومی در واقع مخفی میکنی یا حفاظت میکنی به خاطر اینکه سیستم‌های امنیتی جمهوری اسلامی از اونها آگاه هستن. درست میگم؟ درست فهمیدم؟
That's true. The media has been, I would say, quite despicable in Iran in the way that they jumped on the story. So I'm not willing to play, into their narrative, or even in entertaining, certain parties of the opposition, and the kind of things that they could tell about people, make up stories and lies. I refuse to do so. And I don't think that, if by chance security services in Iran do not know all the people that I've spoken to, then why would I volunteer the name?
در زمانی که در ایران بودید با شما قاعدتاً باید یک مأمور امنیتی همراه شما باشه در تمام مکانهایی که میرفتید به عنوان یک تحلیلگر. آیا اینطور بود؟
No. I mean, unless, the people that I was with were security themselves. But I don't believe I don't believe they were. And no, even, during the conference, I was taken to certain, sites to visit, one of them being the shrine of Ayatollah Khomeini near the airport. There was never anyone with me other than a couple of friends. So unless those friends happened to be served, from the intelligence services and I wasn't aware of it, then I would say no, I wasn't accompanied.
آیا تو مدتی که ایران بودی با مردم کوچه و بازار هم ملاقات داشتی یا فقط ملاقات تو با افراد خاص بوده؟ آیا به مکانهای دیدنی هم رفتی؟ برنامه چی بودش در زمانی که ایران بودی فارغ از حالا اون جلساتی که داشتی؟
Okay, so I went to Qom and I went to Mashhad, and obviously Tehran. So in Tehran I visited parks and various shrines. I went to Evin prison. I just drove around Tehran basically with with some friends. Went to I think it's called the Hanging Garden, with this bridge. I visited those places and it was beautiful. I loved it. I think it was great. And yeah, I was, if I wasn't working, I was doing press interviews and things like that. I was just, enjoying my time with, friends of mine that I've met either through work or, the friend of a friend who become a friend, things like that. So, went to several restaurants, went to North Tehran. I have, by now I have quite a few Iranian friends. And, some of them are just, regular people who have nothing to do with politics or the media, who invited me and, took me around to visit their city. It was, as you do. It was very, very normal.
آیا داخل زندان رو دیدی؟ داخل زندان اوین رو دیدی؟
No, inside. So I've seen, they basically show me where, I think it was Ayatollah Khamenei who was held there, with other people. So I visited. I was shown the place, and one of the guide was actually a former prisoner under the Shah. And they showed me a documentary. I met a woman who also had been with her daughter, who had been held at Evin prison and tortured under the Shah, and yeah. So it was very interesting and very, very upsetting too. I had no idea that those things were going on under the Shah.
اوکی. کاترین، چرا باید یه خبرنگاری که در مجموع شاید 18 روز هم بیشتر در ایران حضور نداشته در سالهای مختلف، بایستی درباره یک جنبش اعتراضی در سال 1388 به نام جنبش سبز یک تحلیلی بنویسه که این تحلیل ممکنه خوشایند حکومت باشه؟ چرا این تحلیل رو نوشتی؟ آیا قصد داشتی که به بدنه قدرت در جمهوری اسلامی نزدیک بشی؟
No. Look, everything that I've written, even though I wish I didn't, at the time of writing, I believed in and was sincere. It's possible for people to fall for a certain narrative and certain lies. So I was given informations that I believed to be comprehensive at the time, and I made up my mind on the basis of that. I then find out that everything that I have been told, were manipulated, and they were not giving me the full pictures. So, but this is how Iran's government operates. They bring, Western thinkers and intellectuals and media people. They give them a certain narrative. They present facts that have been redacted, and a lot of the time we fall for it because Iran is very much misunderstood, and there's always sometimes there's a strong desire to try to understand. But when the other party is not giving you the full pictures, obviously whatever it is that you're going to believe will not be the whole truth. So a lot of the time I was stepping up in defense of the government because I believed what I was saying. Obviously I was asked to, otherwise my article was not going to get published, but I believe everything that I said. And I thought that my analysis were correct, and that, Iran was being misportrayed in Western media, and I wanted to try to fix this. Unfortunately, I was played and I was a pawn in other people's game, which is why people are angry now, because, I said one thing and now I am saying, things that are completely different because I woke up to the propaganda machine and I'm trying to set the record straight. And I think it's important for people to understand that those things happen, that, it's not because people are stupid, and things happen in your life. And I think the great disservice would be to be quiet when I know better. So I think for me, it was important to speak against it.
همچنان هم باور دارید به اون چیزی که نوشتید در اون مقاله؟ یعنی همچنان فکر می‌کنید اون مقاله درسته؟
I did not have the information that I needed to write an accurate analysis. So I've wrote an article that was very one-sided. And if I was asked to do it again, I wouldn't, because I believe very differently. But everything that I've written, however wrong I may have been, back then, I believed. And I stand by it because at the time, that was my belief. And those were my ideas. You know, I've changed because people grew up in their career. You have the right to change your mind. This is a sign of intelligence. When people gain more information, they change their mind. You want this to happen. You want people to be given the full pictures. At the time, I wasn't giving the full pictures. And I woke up to this reality, and I'm trying to fix this by speaking against it.
پس تایید میکنی در زمانی که مقاله رو نوشتی اطلاعات کافی نداشتی؟
100%.
نکته‌ای که هستش، آیا در زمان انتخابات و شما ارتباطی با تیم محمود احمدی نژاد داشتید یا خیر؟
No.
اونها از شما درخواست نکردن مقاله‌ای برای در مورد انتخابات بنویسید؟
I don't believe so. If they did, I didn't know who they were. There's so many different media in Iran, and a lot of the time, you know, they're claiming to be working for certain people when in fact they're not. I'm not an expert on Iran, so it's quite. I mean, you know, it would be very easy for me to believe someone and you know and find out that they were lying. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't believe that I did. No.
کاترین، بیا با هم صادقانه صحبت کنیم. برخی از منتقدین شما میگن که شما در یک مقطعی مقاله‌هایی نوشتید، رفتاری از خودتون داشتید مثل حجاب، مثل سربندی که داشتید و این باعث شد که شما به بدنه قدرت در جمهوری اسلامی نزدیک بشید. بعد از اینکه اطلاعات لازم رو به دست آوردید و روابط رو پیدا کردید، در واقع تغییر کردید و به هر حال به یک در واقع آدم دیگه‌ای تبدیل شدید. شما به این چه جوابی میدید؟
Look, ultimately, people will believe what they want to believe. I can only speak for myself. Quite frankly, I don't really care what people think because I care about what I do and what I believe and to be true to myself initially. No, I was wearing the headscarf. First of all, when you go to Iran, you have to wear the headscarf, let's be honest, or you go to jail, so you don't have a choice. I wrestled my entire life with the headscarf because it's not something that I never felt comfortable with. I did it to comply with people's expectation within the Muslim community. I always defended the right for women to wear the headscarf or not, because I don't believe that it defines a person. I think that demanding of women to have this outwardly, symbol of modesty, very hypocritical. I think modesty comes from your behavior, not a headscarf. And so I just very simply decided that I wasn't going to wear it. That then created a massive backlash where I lost a lot of friends because of it. People refused to speak to me. And it kind of proved to me that I was right in doing what I did, because if people only speak to you when you're wearing a headscarf, it's not a true friendship and there's no real respect. And so it was, what I've done was my personal choice. I decided not to wear it anymore. I didn't think, oh, it's going to harm my career, because quite frankly, I didn't care. I'm more interested in doing what I need to do for myself, to be true to myself, and whatever consequences come from that, I will handle it. If people want to see something else in it, thinking that it was a grand manipulation, that's their choice. Like I said, everything that I've done, every step I've made in my career was true at the time to what I believed. I've changed my mind. I'm allowed. And if people can't accept that, it's their problem.
کاترین، چرا حجاب عادی مثل یا حجاب اینقدر سفت و سخت داشتی؟ این یه خورده غیر طبیعی به نظر میاد. شما به حجاب میگه اعتقاد نداشتی ولی حجاب خیلی کامل داشتی، یعنی حجابی که شاید افراد معتقد مذهبی از اون پیروی میکنن رو داشتی. این یه جورایی در واقع این شایبه رو به ذهن متبادر میکنه که با این حجاب میخواستی یه جورایی نزدیک بشی و دل افرادی که به قدرت نزدیک هستن رو به دست بیاری و بتونی در بدنه قدرت در جمهوری اسلامی نفوذ بکنی. آیا درسته؟
No. Look, when I went to Iran, I was asked to dress that way. It wasn't my choice. People went out of their way to buy me, an abaya or chador, whatever you call it, and asked me to wear it. That was very simple. So I wasn't going out of my way to blend in. I was asked to wear this, being told that, it was regulation and that this is what I need to wear. Yes.
تو خانوم‌های اطراف تو میدونستی که حجاب تو با حجاب اونها حتی زنان ایرانی فرق میکنه. چه حسی داشتی؟
I didn't, because look, when you go into a new country, which is culturally different from yours, and people from that country are asking you to wear certain, to dress in a certain way, the polite thing to do, the respectful thing to do is to abide by the rules, and so I did. Now, obviously I've seen that in Iran, there's a whole different array and people wear different clothes, but I wasn't there to judge people and ask questions as into like, why is this woman wearing this? Why is this woman wearing that? People have asked me, they kindly invited me to their country and asking me to play by their rules. I did, as you do. If you go into a church, in France, you are asked to dress in a certain way. It would be rude not to. So it was purely on my part, to be respectful of the people who invited me and in Iranian society in general. I didn't want to be disrespectful. I didn't want to be rude. And so I complied with their wishes. Quite frankly, I didn't mind. It wasn't a burden on me particularly. I lived in Yemen. So, in Yemen, you have to wear similar kind of attire. That's absolutely fine by me.
حتی نخواستی که برای دریافت آزادی بیشتر تلاشی بکنی یا یه مبارزه‌ای بکنی به عنوان یک زن؟
This is a tricky question. Yes, I would always defend women's rights to choose what they want to wear, how they want to wear it, and be respectful of their choice. Whether or not I would choose that for myself, I think it's important, as a general rule. Now, I'm not so arrogant as to think that me, a Western, girl from France can come to Iran and tell women what to do. It's not my place. Do I support them? Should they choose to fight against the headscarf or choose, a different way of living? Absolutely. Am I there to speak on their behalf? No, because I have no understanding of their life journey. I have never lived in Iran. I do not know, what they went through, as their personal journey. Like, who am I to tell people what to do? Iran is a very, people have their own culture, their own religious belief. They have a whole tradition behind them that I can't possibly understand because I do not know enough. So I don't believe that it would be my place to tell them what to do or even to go to the media and make claims about how I feel Iranian women should conduct themselves. If they want to, be religiously conservative and cover themselves from head to toe, I support that. Should they want to walk in a bikini in the streets of Tehran and feel empowered, I would support that. Am I there to tell them what to do? Never.
ولی خودت حاضر نشدی که حتی درخواست بکنی برای اینکه بخوای حجاب راحت‌تری داشته باشی و اون حجاب رو در واقع پذیرفتی یا خودت انتخاب کردی؟
I didn't choose it. No, it was given to me. Look, again, when you go to a different country, whether you're comfortable or not is not relevant if you want to be respectful of other people's tradition. And I understood that. I was raised in respect of other people. So if you go somewhere, if you go to eat at someone's home and you do not like the food, would you ask them to cook you something else? Absolutely not. You eat your food and you say thank you. And you appreciate the fact that someone extended kindness towards you and made you feel welcome. So as far as I was concerned, I was going to shut up, put up with it, and be respectful of other people. The same way I would expect them to come to my country and show me the same respect.
تا اونجایی که مصاحبه‌های دیگه شما رو دنبال کردم، شما با چند تا از شرکت‌هایی که خدمات امنیتی هم ارائه می‌کردن کار کردید، درسته؟
you're going to need to be a lot more specific because some, people used name was thrown around of company who I allegedly work with that I never work with. So you're going to need to be a lot more specific as to who you're talking about.
به صورت مشخص آیا شما کارشناس سازمان ویکی استارت اسرائیل بودید یا نه؟ or ویکی استارت؟
ویکی استارت, yes.
ویکی استارت. بودید درسته؟
Wikistra is a think tank. So it's not security. I mean, they might do security on the side, but it's essentially a think tank. It's an open source think tank. I worked with them for 6 months. I think it was around 2013, I think. And you don't actually get paid because what they do is that they have a pool of experts. They ask you to basically contribute to a conversation that they're having. So it's not exactly work, it's more an open discussion with colleagues in order to have different perspectives and opinions on a certain subject. Okay. I was asked to contribute on Yemen, which I did. My job was for 6 months to contribute to the issue of Yemen civil war, and that was it. I didn't work with them after that. And, people made this massive show, alleging that because Wikistrat's founder happens to be Jewish and Israeli, therefore he must be a spy. I can't speak, to every single person that runs, various NGOs and think tanks or even media. I'll give you an example. If you contribute an analysis to Al Jazeera network on TV, can you be held responsible for the opinions and belief system of the person who actually set up, Al Jazeera? No. I was doing my job as an analyst. And again, as a Western, person, I don't judge. I don't spend my time trying to dissect every single organization to find the one Jewish person or the one person that might have traveled to Tel Aviv and just assume, oh, they're bad people. No. I'm asked to do a certain task. I decide whether or not I'm actually, I can contribute to that task. And that's all I need to know. As long as this company is not doing anything illegal and nefarious, I have no problem working with them. Because again, in the UK or in France or in Europe in general, you do not judge people on the basis of who they work with, but rather what they the job that they do. And my analysis was on point. And I can only be held responsible for that. If people have an issue with Wikistrat, not my problem.
اوکی. تایید میکنید که با سازمان‌های امنیتی کار کردی، مثل حالا سازمان‌ها یا شرکت‌های امنیتی کار کردی؟
Wikistrat, yes, I worked with them 6 months on Yemen.
نه فقط با سایر سازمان‌های امنیتی هم کار کردی، مثل سازمان امنیتی کانادا؟
No, that's not true. What happened was they reached out to me asking me to work with them. We had a conversation. I sent them my CV. I then decided that what they were asking me to do.
Excuse me, to Canada Security Service? You're talking about this? Okay.
Yeah, it was called Anderson Consulting or something. I then had a discussion with the founder of this organization and, decided that what he needed from me, I could not provide because I didn't have the expertise. And so I told him that, I was a political analyst and I wasn't able to help him in what he was doing. And so, we decided that that was it. Now, because my bio was somewhat attached to his website, because initially he wanted to bring me on as a consultant, people made movies. That's fine. I never worked with them. If people had actually bothered to reach out to those organizations and actually ask them to verify the information, they would tell you the same thing I'm telling you, that I've never worked with them other than had one conversation, about what they wanted me to do and me declining the offer because I could not provide the service they wanted me to provide. Very simple.
کاترین، فکر می‌کنی که اگر یک سازمان امنیتی یا یک سازمان جاسوسی بخواد یک جاسوس رو به ایران بفرسته که اون جاسوس هم خانوم باشه، باید اون خانوم چه ویژگی‌هایی داشته باشه؟ چه کار باید بکنه تا بتونه به بدنه قدرت در ایران نزدیک بشه؟ تو هم سازمان‌های جاسوسی رو میشناسی، هم در واقع بدنه قدرت در جمهوری اسلامی رو. فکر می‌کنی اگر یک سازمان جاسوسی بخواد یک جاسوس بفرسته، اون زن باید چه ویژگی‌هایی داشته باشه؟ فکر میکنید که به عنوان یک تحلیلگر چرا باید اینقدر روایت‌های متفاوتی از شما در رسانه‌های فارسی وجود داشته باشه؟ چرا فکر میکنید که اینقدر نام کاترین شکدم جنجالی شده؟ علتش چیه؟ به عنوان یک تحلیلگر علتش رو چی میدونید؟
Anti-Semitism. Because I'm a woman and I'm a Jew, and they don't like it in Iran, and so they had to make stories about me to make themselves feel better at night. Simple. That's what I believe. And if my name is problematic, then it is. But it's not of my own making. Iran did that.
Honestly,
they created the story.
Honestly, it's not. It's not because you're a woman or because you're Jewish. Honestly,
no, I think it is.
It's because you become very close to power circle of Iran. It's because of
and
it's amazing how you could be close like this.
I think that people are I don't think I was that close. I think I was lucky in a way to just be allowed around certain people and witness certain things. But I wasn't, it's not like I didn't have tea and coffee with Ayatollah Khamenei, let's be honest. So it's not like close to what?
Power circle. Mr. Javani, General Javani,
I've learned something in Yemen. You could meet people, very powerful people. Back in Yemen, I knew the president's family. Ali Abdullah Saleh, met him, knew him, knew members of his family who were in power.
I told you you're very important, girl.
No, I'm not important. I just, things happen, things happen. And I happen to be good at what I do. So people want to listen to what I have to say, okay? Now, it's not because you know people or you have access to certain people that it makes you influential. There's a huge difference. You could know someone and shake their hands, but do they listen to you? Do they value your input? Would they ask you before they make a decision? Could you change their mind? That is influence. I don't have that power. And I never claimed that I did. All I said is that I traveled to Iran. I've seen for myself things that very few people in my position as a Westerner and as a Jew ever had access to. And that I felt that my perspective, my story mattered because I had a lived-in experience of Iran, regime. And it is something that not many people had access to or ever experienced in their life. And that I felt it was my duty as an analyst to relay those information to the public, to hopefully bridge the gap in between Iran and the rest of the world, and hopefully stop, Iranians, looking onto, the Jewish community and think that the Jewish community is the enemy, and vice versa. Those were my goals. Because it always very much shocked me to see the rampant anti-Semitism that runs through Iran, and the way that, every time a state official will come and say something about anything, they will say death to Israel, death to the Jews. That needs to end. So my desire, my decision to write in the Times of Israel was to shock people into realizing that you cannot continue to hold to that narrative, because when I was in Iran and you did not know that I was Jewish, you liked me, you were my friend, you talked to me, you valued my opinion. And now that I am writing for the Times of Israel, now that I'm openly, owning my Jewish identity, you do not want to know me, and I've become suddenly a spy. I've become, I'm blackmailing the government. I'm doing all those things that are not true, that they know are not true, because they're trying to shame me for the thing that they can't forgive, and it has to do with my Jewish identity. And there's nothing you could do or say that will change my mind. I know that because I'm a woman and because I'm a Jew. People decided to slap those labels onto me and to continue this narrative of hatred, because it's so easy to hate Israel and hate all the Jews, because apparently we're responsible for everything that is bad.
Kاترین, a lot of Jews living in Iran.
And a lot of Jews run away from Iran for very serious reasons. It's like, listen, your government, and I'm not saying you personally, your government in Iran has this slogan, death to Israel, death to the Jews. That, as long as that stands, how do you expect
excuse me, it's not about Jews. As I know, I'm not inside of government. I'm completely independent. It's not about Jewish. It's about Israel. Yes, I hear this. It's about Israel, not about Jewish.
Then maybe they should stop to say death to the Jews.
How you know this is about Jewish? Where you read this?
I didn't read it. I heard it when I had this conference on Palestine. That's the first thing that they said.
I grow in Iran, and I haven't heard that they say that down with Jewish. Yes, I hear it for many times. They say down with Israel. Yes, but they didn't say about Jewish. A lot of Jews living in Iran.
Okay.
How you detect this?
Because people have told me many times. I have heard it from the mouth of officials.
Who? Where?
Officials, the name of officials. I'm not going to say who, but many officials have said those things. Clerics, ayatollahs, people in powered position have said those things to me.
That's amazing. You're an analyst. Just you listen to one people or two people or I don't know 3 or 10 people told you that this is they said Iran said down with Jewish, but you didn't see that in the public what is the people's opinion?
I'm not. I make a difference in between public opinion and government officials. What I'm saying is that when state officials and religious authorities are peddling an anti-Semitic narrative, I can't abide by this, and I'm convinced that a lot of the criticism leveled at me comes from that.
But
I'm not talking about the Iranians. The Iranians, I don't know what they think, and I haven't spoken to every Iranian in Iran, so I will not put words in their mouth. I'm saying the government.
Until this age, I haven't heard that government said don't be Jewish.
Okay.
I don't know how you hear it and from there.
I heard it. I heard it from them. But it's fine. It's just like for me it's an issue because you cannot go around and call for the annihilation of an entire people. Nazi Germany done that.
Of course, they have a lot of limitation. They have a lot of limitation as a Jewish, but they don't have the freedom like a Muslim and Shia. Let's come back to our question. Okay. شما شیعه شدید یعنی مسلمان که شدید شیعه هم شدید؟
Look, when I converted to Islam, I didn't even know that you had Sunni and Shia. I was under the impression that you had one book and that Islam was one. And then I met Muslims. And then I realized that you had Sunni and Shia and Zaydis and Alawites and Ismailis and all the different things. I find it very confusing because I was told that you had one prophet, one message, and then I found that one message turned into a million interpretation. Same thing for Sunni Islam, by the way. You have the Wahhabis and the Salafis and whatever. So at the beginning I was again under the impression that there was one Islam and that you should practice whatever what the Quran says. Basically, I thought that was the main source. And I found out that apparently clerics have, different opinions about that, and that they decide to kind of make it as long as they go. Like I said, I read quite a fair bit, and I just decided that I didn't like what I was hearing from Sunni clerics because it was a bit disturbing. And I thought that Shia Islam was a lot better, and I felt that it was more cohesive. Again, I liked the values. I liked the idea of, standing for the oppressed of the world and defending human rights and exercises compassion, things like that.
Just excuse me, Kاترین, I'm interrupting you. Just I want to know that you become Shia or not?
Yes. Yeah, of course I did.
You say like Ashhadu anna Aliyan Waliullah?
I know I did. No, I didn't. I was already Muslim, and I just I didn't have a very traditional journey, but
you use a very traditional dress, hijab.
I was in Iran. When I was in Iran, when I was here, I was wearing a normal hijab and skinny jeans.
Honestly, we don't have this hijab. It's not a popular hijab.
Well, again, I told you, I explained to you why I was wearing it. I was asked to wear it. So
okay,
do you argue with people as a guest? Do you argue with your host? No. I was polite.
Okay, so you become Shia, yes?
Became Shia, yeah, but I didn't. There was no particular thing that I said or anything. I just I just identified as a Shia, and that was it.
در مصاحبه‌ای که با آقای رئیسی داشتید، آقای طالبزاده مدعی شده که کلمه به کلمه سوال‌های شما با آقای طالبزاده چک شده. آیا تایید می‌کنید؟
The questions, yes. Well, hold on. Not just by him. It was a coordination effort with RT. When I went to do the interview with Mr. Ra'isi, I wasn't asked to. I wasn't there to ask my questions. So it wasn't about me. I was just a medium for RT and to act on the behalf of RT. I wasn't there to have an opinion. So I was just there to be a mouthpiece and ask the questions. That was it. And they were not my questions. RT discussed with President Raisi's office in terms of what question they were allowed to ask. And that was it. So I wasn't made aware of the process whatsoever. I was giving a set of questions and they say, ask that. So I was a journalist that day. I wasn't an analyst, I was a journalist. And my job was to ask the question written on the piece of paper for him to answer in Farsi. And I was there to smile because I had no idea what he was saying. And then RT did the little montage and the subtitles. That was it.
So you just you was a narrator. Oh, you have a cat.
I have
Hello.
3.
Okay. Okay. Just you was a narrator in that interview.
Yes.
Just you narrate. So why, if they knew the narrator, why they send you?
Good question. I mean, this is my understanding of it.
Because you told me that you are not a journalist.
I know I'm not a journalist, but I was at the time working as an analyst for RT. An editor friend called me asking me if I would be able to go to Iran, within a day notice. I told her that I could because I had a French passport, and so I only needed to have a visa at the airport, and that was essentially it. It's because I had easy access.
Excuse me, if they needed just narrator, why they send the analyst? Why they didn't send a journalist?
You need to ask them that. You need to ask them because they asked me, they paid me, and I was like, okay.
How much they paid? You can.
I think it was about £2,000, and I had to buy my own ticket.
It was good?
No, but you tell me how often you could potentially sit across the next Iranian president.
Okay, I agree. در تایمز مدعی شدید که یک نفر به شما میگه که آقای رئیسی این بار در انتخابات شکست میخوره و در انتخابات بعدی پیروز میشه چون نماینده حاکمیته. چرا نماینده حاکمیت در دور اول پیروز نشد؟
I was talking about the elections that he ran, against President Rouhani. Yes. I said in my articles at the Times of Israel that at the time I was told that he would not win this election because usually Iran has a tradition where a president is often re-elected twice. And so that President Rouhani was very likely to be elected president again. And that because Mr. Ra'isi at the time was not well known in terms of that his ambition to become president. He didn't have enough clout, to win those elections. But that nevertheless, his career had been looked after and architected by, the regime in Iran, and that he was earmarked to become the next, supreme leader. That's what I was told.
Still, you want to protect the name, yes?
Oh, who told me this?
Yes.
Oh, it was Nader who told me that. This is not a state secret. It was Nader Talibzadeh. We had a conversation and he explained to me how Iran worked.
شما توی تایمز گفتید که ابراهیم رئیسی مرد جاه طلبی هست و فکر میکنید که این جاه طلبی تا کجا ادامه پیدا میکنه؟ فکر میکنید که الان ابراهیم رئیسی به منتها، یعنی به انتهای جاه طلبیش رسیده، یعنی ریاست جمهوری رو انتهای جاه طلبی ابراهیم رئیسی میدونی؟
No, I don't believe that I say he was a power grabber. What I said is that prior to him becoming president of Iran, he was already running Mashhad, and that gave him enormous power within Iran, because essentially he had, under his authority billions of dollars worth of assets. And, essentially what is the, one of the holiest city in Islam. And that's not nothing. So that gave him an enormous clout, and that his ambition extended to the office of the presidency. And then maybe beyond that of supreme leader. I never said he was like greedy for power, but obviously if you're running for president, you have certain ambitions. He doesn't have, it's not necessarily negative. But yeah, he is someone who's quite determined to reach, the utmost highest position in the state, quite clearly.
این صندلی ریاست جمهوری رو انتهای جاه طلبی ابراهیم رئیسی میدونن یا فکر میکنن که ابراهیم رئیسی دنبال مقام‌های بالاتری هست؟
Oh, he's after a higher position. It's in my opinion, I might be wrong, but I do believe that he wants to be the next supreme leader.
You think
it's tricky because you have other competing powers in Iran. I mean, certain family members of Ayatollah Khamenei might not allow it to happen. I don't know. But whether he could, yeah, I think everything is possible. He could. Whether that's going to happen, it's complicated. So it's not as simple as, wishing something to happen for it to happen. He's president, which is good enough, I think. But yeah, I believe that, he has those ambitions. Whether they can manifest, I don't know.
It will be great in your CV that you had an interview with
that would be something else.
Iran Supreme Leader, yeah?
It would.
What is your understanding of that when you had the interview with him? Do you think he has this ability?
Well, I definitely believe that he could be president, yes.
No, for Supreme Leader.
Do you know, here's what I think. To have people, personalities such as that, as, Ayatollah Khomeini and Ayatollah Khamenei, those men don't come by very often. I mean, we're talking history here. We're talking, the kind of figures that we would talk about in 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. People that have so profoundly marked history, that they cannot not be talked about. Now it takes a lot. You need to have charisma. You need to have a vision. There's a lot of qualities, that someone need to have in order to be able to carry these kind of responsibilities. Whether you agree or not with them, they don't come often. I sincerely, and this is my opinion, do not believe that the Islamic Republic, as it is today, within the structure that, it has, can survive Ayatollah Khamenei. That is my opinion. If he was to pass away tomorrow, I think you would be very hard pressed as a country to find someone who can fill his shoes and maintain the cohesion of the Islamic Republic as it is today. It is my understanding, and this is just me, that if he was, to pass away, the Islamic Republic would dissolve because it would not be able to maintain itself. You need to have a certain kind of authority, charisma, understanding of history, belief system. And I think that we're kind of coming to an end with that. I may be wrong. This is what I believe. So, whether technically, President Ra'isi could become the supreme leader, maybe. Would he be able to maintain, the kind of loyalty that is required and the kind of expertise that you need to be able to carry an entire country, on your shoulders? I'm not sure.
فکر می‌کنید افرادی هستن که ابراهیم رئیسی رو برای رهبری آینده جمهوری اسلامی آماده می‌کنن؟
Yes, I do, because I was told. So yes.
همونطور که می‌دونید دیشب سپاه یک مقر موساد رو به گفته خودشون در عراق هدف حملات موشکی قرار داد. میدونید اونجا چند نفر کشته شدن؟
I did not. I don't know about that at all. So I can't comment. I don't know.
این یک خبره که به شما میدم. دیشب یک مقر موساد و یک پایگاه موساد به گفته سپاه پاسداران هدف در واقع موشک‌های سپاه قرار گرفت و سپاه رسما مسئولیت این رو به عهده گرفت و این خبر منتشر شد. با توجه به اینکه شما آمار تلفات نیروهای امریکایی در پایگاه عین الاسد رو اعلام کردید، میخوام بدونم که آیا خبر دارید که چند نفر در این حملات اخیر سپاه به در واقع کردستان عراق و مقر موساد کشته شدن یا آمار زخمی‌هاشون چقدر هست؟
No, I don't have any information. Sorry. That might be disappointing to you, but no, I don't have any info.
So we can say that your resource in Iran forget about you?
Maybe.
Because they didn't give you information because you had information about Ain al-Assad. You know?
But, then maybe, yeah, maybe. Maybe what you say is true. Maybe, I don't.
Maybe you're in your home and it's not your interesting or it's not in your work during time. Yes.
Exactly. It was after hours, so no information.
It was out of your interest. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want, you can take the information.
No, I didn't say that. No,
if you want, you can have a contact with your resource in Iran.
In Iran? No, I mean, I don't know why you look. It's not because you have access to one piece of information. Things change every day. People maybe you were talking to yesterday will not be talking to you today.
چطور پس اطلاعات حملات سپاه به پایگاه عین الاسد رو داشتید؟
What do you mean?
شما خبری رو منتشر کردید راجع به تعداد کشته‌های پایگاه عین الاسد که 100 امریکایی در اون کشته شدن، درسته؟ Confirm?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the I received.
و صدا و سیمای جمهوری اسلامی ایران به نقل از کاترین شکدم میاد و این خبر 100 نفر رو منتشر میکنه.
Who referred to my name?
Islamic Republic of Iran Broadcasting mentioned you and
they use me as the source of information?
Yes, resource.
Okay. If that's what they want, I mean, okay. If they want to quote me and, use me as a source of information, that's fine.
Okay.
I published my article in Citizen Truth. I never spoke to them.
Okay. Do you tell me that who was your resource?
It wasn't in Iran, I can tell you that much.
You cannot tell me?
No, I can tell you that it wasn't someone in Iran.
He was a military man?
He was what?
He was a military man or politician?
No.
He was working government?
Yes.
Okay. He was working the foreign minister or?
It was an Iranian.
Give me some more information. Okay, protect of your resource, but give me some more information. It wasn't from General Javani?
No.
Because
why is this man constant? Why is it that my name is constantly thrown next to this man? It's insane.
I don't know. You can tell me more.
No, I'm not. We're not best friends. I'm sorry, but I don't. It's insane. He's the head of the Republican Guard, isn't he?
You was in touch with Mr. Javani, General Javani? You talked to him?
No.
You meet him?
I met him. I was in the same room as him. There's a difference. Okay.
It was in which place? It was in which event?
It was during the conference on Palestine.
Oh, okay.
There were many people.
Okay. And you
President Rouhani was there. Did I speak to him? Did he reveal secrets?
Okay.
No.
Okay. And you didn't spoke what General Javani?
No.
Never?
No, as in beyond hello, no.
Even with one hello or salam?
Hello, salam, That was
Can you say something
extent.
Farsi? Can you say something Persian? Salam.
I know. No, I can say kheli mamnoon. That's it.
And more?
Babakhshi.
Babakhshi. Chatori?
That's it.
Can you talk a bit Farsi with me? Salam.
I don't speak Farsi. Like you try. I don't.
I know. Just I want to know how many words you learn in this time.
That's it. Those are the words I know. Kheli mamnoon and babakhshi. That's it.
That's it.
Salam, you say salam alaikum in Yemen. I speak a little bit of Arabic. Like salam is not exactly a big deal. And I know that you say you actually use French words in Iran to say thank you, because you also say merci. So merci. There you go. Speaks French. So I can speak French. I speak French and English fluently. That's the extent. I can speak a little bit of Arabic, because obviously, because of my former in-laws. But I don't speak a word of Farsi. Nor do I understand it.
بنابراین شما هر گونه رابطه‌ای رو با سردار جوانی معاون سیاسی سپاه تکذیب می‌کنید.
100%. I don't have his email, I don't have his phone number, and we don't chit chat. So I'm sorry if that's disappointing to many people, but no, don't have any links to that person.
Even Instagram?
Instagram. No, I'm sorry. Not Instagram, not WeChat, not Facebook, not Twitter, not nothing.
Maybe with a safe line. No?
That would be a fun story. No.
این به خاطر اینکه یه سری اخباری منتشر شده که اخباری منتشر شده در بعضی از کانال‌ها که شما روابط جنسی داشتین. عذرخواهی میکنم این سوالو میپرسم. شما روابط جنسی داشتین با برخی از مقامات جمهوری اسلامی.
Slander. That's all I have to say about this. Lies and slander. No.
Okay. و برخی این ادعا رو میکنن که شما این فیلم ها رو نگه داشتید برای اینکه بتونید بعداً ازش استفاده بکنید و مقامات جمهوری اسلامی رو بتونید در واقع کنترل بکنید یا اونها به اون چیزی که در واقع سرویس های امنیتی میخوان گوش کنن. یعنی اون فیلم ها مدارک و مستنداتی هستن که شما جمع کردید. من عذر میخوام اگه این سوال مقداری ممکنه برای شما توهین آمیز باشه.
Yeah, and you're telling me that the fact that I'm a woman has nothing to do with it. When you were telling me that, me being a woman has nothing to do with it, and those stories come out, please. It's insulting, it's degrading, it's beneath anyone, and it's a hard no. Do you know the simple fact that people would made up such lies and actually just, to target women in such a way and attack their character without proof is slander. It's the most despicable thing that you could do as a person, and it shows that you have zero integrity and you're not even worthy of being called a human being, in my book. But go ahead, people will believe whatever they want to believe, but it's just degrading, insulting, pathetic. Come up with something else.
به نظر شما نوشتید که مدعی شدید که مردم ایران هرگز دخالت خارجی رو در امور داخل ایران تحمل نمی‌کنن، در حالی که خودتون توی تایمز نوشتین که زندانیان سیاسی در ایران ذهن سکولار دارن. آیا فکر نمی‌کنید که این ذهنیت به مردم عادی هم منتقل شده و اونها در شرایط فعلی توی این شرایط وضعیت اقتصادی دیگه حمایت قبلی رو از جمهوری اسلامی ندارن؟ چی فکر می‌کنید شما؟
Well, that's what I was talking about. I've met with Iranians, and I discovered that many held secular views, and that the one thing that kind of ran across the country was that nobody wanted foreign nations to come and meddle within their affairs, which is fair enough. I think that the Iranian people are perfectly capable of running their own affairs, and that they do not need anyone to come in and tell them what to do. I think that as a people, they're quite proud, which so should they, and they want to, architect their own future, which is fair enough. And I think that every nation should have that opportunity. Now, I think that, look, our world is changing every day, and secularism is gaining ground. It's the reality. And I think that Iran, like any other country, is is following that trend. And a lot of people do not feel that they want to be, run by, religious clerics, and that there's no room for that kind of thinking anymore. They want to move in with the time, and they want to, be a bit more sophisticated about how they do things. And the fact that, Iran is basically enemy number one across the world and is suffering, crippling sanctions is not helping. People will be people. People want to live freely in dignity, and they want to build a future, for their family. And being in Iran is not an easy thing. You don't have access, you're cut out from the rest of the world. You cannot get a visa. You cannot do anything. So it's difficult.
اوکی. نخستین رسانه‌ای که مطالب شما رو در تایمز منتشر کرد یک رسانه‌ای بود که وابسته به تفکر محمود احمدی نژاد بود. آیا شما با جریان محمود احمدی نژاد رابطه‌ای دارید؟ نظر شما راجع به در واقع ایشون چی هست و فعالیتایی که ایشون میکنه؟
What do I think of him? I'm going to try to be polite here. Not much. Because he's, his people, his supporters, whatever you want to call them, they're the one who came up with the, the spying allegation, the allegations of, multiple marriages, and the videos allegation, and all those allegations. They basically lie. So they make up stuff. They repeat it long enough so that people, buy them. It's basically gossip and slander. So this is what I think of him. I don't think that if he was an honorable man, he would be discussing, he would be arguing people on the basis of their idea. All his people are doing is basically running a gossip magazine.
Excuse me, it's about Mahmoud Ahmadinejad or his colleague?
Well, I guess that he's a reflection. I mean, you are who you hang out with. So, if those are his supporters, I'm imagining that, he's somewhat a reflection of those values. If that's okay with him, if it's okay for him, to be running on, by slandering other people, including women, and he thinks that it's okay, well, I have an issue with that because I don't think he's very honorable. Now, do I know him? No, I do not know him. Did I think he was a great state official? Never. I don't think he doesn't have the charisma that, for example, President Rouhani had. I think they're very different people. I don't have much time for him, to be honest with you, because I don't think he was great at what he was doing.
But he has a lot of followers.
So what? Doesn't mean that having many followers has no reflection upon the quality of your character.
A lot of people
it means that you have, well, that's great for them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
You don't like him?
Not particularly, no.
Okay, it means that you hate him?
No, it doesn't. I don't have time. No. Okay. Hate would involve that, for me to actually care.
محمود احمدی نژاد ادعا کرد که برادر همسر آیت الله خامنه‌ای آقای حسن خجسته به اسرائیل سفر کرده. شما این توییت رو دیدید؟ این مطلب رو شنیدید؟ آیا نظری دارید راجع به این موضوع؟
No.
فکر میکنید که میتونن افراد نزدیک به آیت الله خامنه‌ای به اسرائیل سفر بکنن؟
Controlled. Control Israel? No. I don't know about traveling, but are they in communication with the Israelis? Absolutely. It's the worst, kept secret in the world. Like the Israeli nuclear programs. Of course. It's a game of politics. Of course they talk to each other.
این میتونه واقعیت باشه؟
It's common knowledge. You don't need me to tell you. Anyone else would tell you.
شما چی فکر می‌کنید؟
Well, they're speaking to each other for the same reason the Saudi for decades have been speaking to the Israelis and vice versa. The Egyptians speak to the Israelis, the Jordanians speak to the Israelis, the Iraqis, the Yemenis, everybody speaks to everybody. You have to.
در جریان سفر شما به ایران شما یک پروژه تحقیقاتی داشتید یا؟
No, investigating. No. I wasn't investigating what? No, I wasn't investigating anything.
آیا قراره که شما کتابی بنویسید راجع به خاطراتتون در ایران؟
100%.
آیا قراره که اسنادی رو هم در کتابتون منتشر بکنید که تا حالا راجع بهش صحبت نکردید؟
Yes, that would be a yes. That's a I have many things I still have to say, and yes, they will be in the book.
Could you please, with kindness, tell me one of that document in this interview?
What do you mean?
One of that document you want to publish on your book, your future books.
Do you want me to send you documents?
One of them.
It's not about documents. You know, it's you will have to read the book, but it will be interesting.
Oh, you don't want to give me earlier?
No, you're gonna have to read the book, because that I'm making that you know I intend to make money with. So people will have to pay.
I have to pay for.
I have to buy the book.
So you cannot gift me one of your books, yes?
No.
I'm important.
Depends. You know, I'm maybe.
Be good, be kind.
Maybe I'll be kind and send you a copy. But yeah, the book is coming.
در مصاحبه‌ای که با آقای رئیسی داشتید آیا به شما نهار دادن؟
No, not during the interview. But we flew back to Tehran in President Raisi's plane. So yes, I was offered a meal in the plane.
Did you have a lunch with President?
No. I didn't have lunch with the president.
He didn't ask you that you had a lunch or not?
No.
Because usually he asks.
He didn't.
Did you have a lunch or not?
No, he didn't. But he kindly offered me a ride back to Tehran on his plane, so I think that's even better than lunch.
You was in same plane as Ra'isi. Okay, and in that plane, I think maybe he said to some people, said, okay, give him a good lunch.
Why they give us lunch? Yes, and it was the you know.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome.
Did you like this interview?
It's honest. Look, I'm not shying away. All I'm asking is that for people to not put words in my mouth and not distort what I'm saying. I think you were very direct and I believe honest. So inspired by me.
Okay.
You know, people don't have to like me. All I'm asking is, you know, professional courtesy. That's it.
Thank you very much. You have a time if you want to say anything or if you want to add anything, you can. You have this time.
I will. Thank you so much. You have a great day. And thank you for translating. I appreciate it.
Thank you.